to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Excuse me if you jump on here live here on this late Friday night, almost Saturday morning on the East Coast. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. While you're there, give the video a like and a thumbs up. And I know it is late, but I'm hoping, since it's a Friday night and it's the beginning of college football, and for most people Monday's a holiday, that most everyone will still be up. But I wanted to give everybody time to process some of the Friday night games, because a couple of them just went final. But tonight I want to talk about some of the games coming up tomorrow, or if you're on the East Coast, are coming up later on today. But I also want to talk about some of the games that have already taken place, not all of them. But since it's 5 days of college football, it's going to be too much to do in one video. So tonight I'm going to try to recap the games worth mentioning from Thursday night and Friday night. And then later on this weekend, I'll recap the games coming up on Saturday and Sunday. Not all the games, just the ones that should be worth noting. But we've had, I guess you could say, two big upsets. One is probably an upset because most people look at the team and say, who is that? But to me, Tarleton State beating Army is a small upset, but a lot of people had Army as a fringe playoff team. I'm not as big on Army as some people. Now, Navy, I'm very high on. Army, not so much, but still, Tarleton State's kind of a surprise. But tonight, Tarleton State beat Army in double overtime. But the big shocker for me was the first game of the weekend. That was the Thursday afternoon game at 5:30 when Boise State played South Florida. And I think I said here on the channel that I thought South Florida had a pretty good chance to win the game. But if they didn't, the game would be competitive. But the game was not competitive. South Florida was a better team, and it wasn't close. It was close for about the first half, and that was it. But South Florida won the game 34-7. And Boise State looked so bad. If you tell me they go 8-4 this year, I'd probably say I can believe that. But also, NC State only beat East Carolina 24-17. But Dave Doran is going to coach like Dave Doran does. It doesn't matter who coaches and calls plays on offense. Dave Doran's going to be conservative. NC State got up early, and it looked like they were going to go on to win 45-0. And then all of a sudden, their offense just got very complacent, very pedestrian. They had to hang on late for the win. Hey there, Amber. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Colin. Glad to have you here. Hey there, Anthony. Glad to have you here. So, hey there, Kevron. Glad to have you here as always. NC State, I mean, it makes sense for them to hire Kurt Roper, because Kurt Roper is an ultra-conservative play caller on offense. But at the same time, Dave Doran's going to make you be conservative. Dave Doran would be satisfied if he won every game 10-6. He doesn't care. So if he gets the lead, he's going to play conservative. And he did, and it almost cost him again. It's not a coaching thing as far as the coordinators. It's a head coach thing. Dave Doran is going to be conservative. That's how he is. Wyoming beats Akron, but it's 10-0. So Wyoming has zero offense and allows Akron to stay in the game. Minnesota wins an ugly one over Buffalo, 23-10. Minnesota is the most boring offense you've ever seen. But every year, P.J. Fleck finds a way to get to 6 or 7 wins. And as long as he goes 6-6 or 7-5, he'll coach at Minnesota as long as he wants to, which might be a long time, because if you go 6-6 or 7-5 consistently, there's not too many big-time programs that are going to want you. But he somehow gets to 6 or 7 wins with that awful offense every year. And the most overrated player in America to me is Dylan Raiola. But Nebraska wins 20-17 Thursday night against Cincinnati. The Bearcats had the ball late around the 30-yard line, and for whatever reason, even though there was time left, the quarterback decides to go to the end zone. So the Huskers hang on to win, but Dylan Raiola to me looks fat. He looks out of shape. He looks like an average quarterback with an average arm. It's an average athlete. He's slow at reading the defense. He's slow at getting rid of the football. There's nothing about Dylan Raiola to me that screams great player. I just don't see it. And I think I said this in yesterday's video. I can see Nebraska getting to 8 or 9 wins because, for the most part, they avoid all the good teams in the conference. So I can see them getting to 8 or 9 wins, but it's not going to be anything impressive that Dylan does. He's just an average player. Hey there, Braden. Glad to have you here. And then Central Florida struggles to beat Jacksonville State by the score of 17-10. Hey there, Felipe. Glad to have you here. Now, on Friday night, we had Georgia Tech beating Colorado 27-20. And Auburn beats Baylor 38-24. Now, the only bad side of having all these games on Thursday and Friday, and then games on Sunday and a game on Monday, is that there's not a whole host of great games on Saturday. Now, there's a whole host of games, but because you had games Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they tried to spread out all the games, so there's not a whole buku of great games on Saturday. And for the most part, the ones that are on, they spread them out among different time slots, so at each time slot you don't have to do a whole lot of back and forth channel changing. And Braden, it's good to know that your mom is friends with Wade Woodaz. Wade Woodaz is a great football player, but the game that everyone's going to be talking about coming up later on today, noon on Fox, we have Texas and Ohio State, and you have so many storylines on both sides of the ball that you could tell me Texas wins, and I believe it. You could tell me the Buckeyes win, and I believe it. The point spread is very close. Last I heard, Ohio State's favored by a couple of points, but I can see it going either way. I'm not too big on Ohio State's coordinator hires on either side of the ball, but Ohio State does still have the two best players in the country, the best offensive player and the best defensive player. So, of course, that helps. But I can see this game going either way. We also have the battle of the two fake oranges. ABC at noon, Syracuse and Tennessee. I'm not a huge fan of Joey Aguilar. I just don't think he's that good. But I think he's better than the two behind him. But I just don't see Aguilar going out there and having 5,000 passing yards. I just don't see it. And of course, there's no way Tennessee's running game can be near what it was without Dylan Sampson. It's just not going to happen. I think Tennessee wins the game because I just don't think Syracuse is very good. But I think it's going to be closer than the experts think. I think it's going to be an ugly game. But both teams wear fake orange. It doesn't matter. That's also at noon. Then also at noon, we have Mississippi State going to play at Southern Miss. And Mississippi State is not very good. Southern Miss is average. I can see this game being very, 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 very close. And Braden, I'm going to try to talk about South Carolina coming up in my next video, which is either going to be Saturday night or early Sunday afternoon before the afternoon games come on, since they play on Sunday. But I think that game is going to be closer than the experts think, because everybody assumes South Carolina just blows the Hokies out of the water. And I know the Hokies are not very good, but South Carolina, to me, lost too much on the defensive side of the ball to be as good as they were last year. And people seem to, for whatever reason, all of a sudden forget that last year South Carolina had to score late in the game, in the opening game of the season against Old Dominion. And I think the Hokies are as good as Old Dominion. So I think the Gamecocks win, but I don't think it's going to be no blowout like most folks think it will be. I think the Hokies hang with the Gamecocks. 3:30 Saturday afternoon, Alabama and Florida State. And I'm anxious to see what Ty Simpson does, because in the small sample size that I've seen from Ty Simpson, I have not been impressed with him at all. Why everybody thinks Bama's a playoff team except for the fact that they're Alabama, I don't understand. When I picked Alabama to do one of my early prediction videos back about 3 weeks ago, I picked them to go 9-3, but I think that is their absolute ceiling. If you told me Bama goes 7-5, I believe you. Their defense was great last year, but they lost a lot on the defense. And Ryan Williams is very inconsistent. He is nowhere near the best receiver in the country. It's not even close. Ohio State's wide receivers far and away run circles around Ryan Williams, but I'm not sure that Ryan's number two. There's other guys that I might pick above Ryan, because Ryan will have 300 yards one game, and the next game he's got 30. I just don't think he's as good as they say he is, but I have not been impressed with Ty Simpson at all. Now, Ty Simpson is consistently average, and that might be better than what Milroe was last year, because if Milroe was bad, I mean, he wasn't bad. He was absolutely pathetic. And if Ty Simpson can just be average consistently, then his consistently average will be better than what Milroe was when he was bad, because he was bad. And Braden, I got Florida tomorrow because they play Long Island, and I know about 100 FCS teams that can beat Long Island. And Braden, I think Clemson's going 11-1 this year. Hey there, Eddie. Glad to have you here. And hey there, I'm going to assume and hope your name is Ronnie. If it's Ronnie, I apologize, but glad to have you here. Then at 7:30 we have the Battle of the Tigers, the Pretend Tigers, LSU with the Pretend Tiger Rag and the Pretend Death Valley, coming to Clemson to play the real Death Valley and the real Tigers with the real Tiger Rag. That'll be the ABC prime time game. So at noon you got Texas, Ohio State. 3:30 you got Alabama and Florida State, and 7:30 you got LSU and Clemson. Yes, Braden, I think Clemson's going to go 11-1. I never, ever, ever pick a team to go 12-0, because to me that's unrealistic. And you see most years, even when teams win the national championship, they lose a game. And I'm not saying that you can't go undefeated, because it does happen. I mean, Clemson went undefeated one time, so you can do it. But to me, to go into a season and expect your team to go undefeated every year is just being unrealistic. So I'll never pick Clemson to go undefeated. It's just not going to happen. But they can, but I don't think they will. And Eddie, I think Ohio State wins, but I said it earlier in the video, I really don't know, because I'm not a big fan of either coordinator hire the Buckeyes made. And Texas is one of the few teams that you see that has the same coordinators every year. Ever since Steve Sarkisian's been there, he's had the same play caller on offense, the same play caller on defense, and that's just something you don't see. Usually if you're a top 5 team, you're going to lose one of your coordinators at least every other year. And somehow or another Sarkisian manages to bring his guys back. So you got to love that continuity for Texas, but also know that Steve Sarkisian is an offensive genius until Texas gets down to the red zone. And every time they get down to the red zone, he tries to get too cute and overthink himself, and he just constantly kills drives. But I'm also not a big fan of either hire coordinators the Buckeyes made, but they've got so much talent, it may not matter. But they've got the best player in America on offense and the best player in America on defense. So I think it's going to come down to the wire. So if you ask me who do I think will win, I say Ohio State. But if Texas wins, it's not going to surprise me. It's not like I think the Buckeyes win by 3 touchdowns. I think the Buckeyes win 21-17, 24-20, something like that. So basically a field goal or one score game. So, a game that close, one play can make a difference. So if Texas wins, it's not going to surprise me. But right now, I think Ohio State wins a close game. But I think both teams are fantastic, and the winner of this game, whoever it is, has a chance to go 11-1 this year. The loser might go 9-3, 10-2, but the winner might possibly go 11-1. But any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. I think Arch Manning is going to start. Braden, he's their starting quarterback, but I'm not convinced Arch Manning is as good as they say he is, because most Texas fans didn't like Quinn Ewers. And if Quinn Ewers are so bad and Arch Manning is so good and Steve Sarkisian is an offensive genius, why didn't we see Arch play more last year? When Arch has played, all he does is run the ball. So can Arch drop back and throw the ball 45 times and beat somebody? I don't know. I'm not saying that he can't, but I don't know that. All I've seen is Arch come in the game, he runs. And he's not going to run the ball against Ohio State 45 times. So can he throw? I don't know. I ain't seen it. But he is their quarterback. But, there's so much talent around Arch Manning that he doesn't have to play fantastic football. If he can go out there and just be average and not turn the ball over, Texas is fine. They're going to be top 10 in America in defense, so they don't have to be top 10 in America in offense. If they're top 40 in offense and they just don't turn the ball over, they'll be fine. So it's not like if Arch doesn't throw for 500 yards, the Longhorns ain't winning. If he throws for 200 and don't turn the ball over, they're going to win most games. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What's 4 inches long and drives a woman crazy? An empty toilet paper roll. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them.